Welcome, everybody. My name is Lou Jensen, and this is the weekly get-together of the INE Network. We've been the inspiration and encouragement gang for a very long time, and we've been doing webinars and internet sessions of encouraging and counseling for 9 years. This is our ninth season, and we've learned a lot. We are constantly struggling with the technology because it changes so fast it seems like it's just damn near impossible to even keep up with anymore. But if you're a part of our network, we have sold 30,000 of our systems worldwide in the last 30 years. So we've been a company since 1983, and I started down this path less traveled 39 years ago, and it's been really an amazing journey. When I sit back and think, we were talking to one of my dental buddies just a couple of days ago, and he asked me if I had ever regretted leaving dentistry and chasing off after a dream, and I said, well, it's never easy making things work out. Success Mountain is always an uphill adventure, but I can't imagine not having gone in this direction. Having the ideas and concepts that allowed me to play with the marketplace and the world as much as I have has been just an absolute joy. But always the thing that is the biggest struggle, it seems to me, is information and the trading of information and really actually figuring out what's going on. I had a rather interesting week this week. A couple of days ago, I took a piece of crystal for Jack Solomon over to the president of the University of the new school here in the Valley, and they are tied with the University of Utah in size right now, but it's pretty sure that in the next year they will out to the University of Utah and will become the state's largest state-supported school. And it's in my old backyard. When I first moved and retired from dentistry and moved out here, I had a home right up behind the UVU and that neighborhood, and my kids thought that that school was their backyard playground, especially over the weekend when the students all left and faculty wasn't there. And unfortunately, my kids got on a first-name basis with the university police force, who had to kind of take care of the school and keep things safe and sound. And my kids were always over there causing problems. But it's gone on and grown quite a bit, and they're getting ready to build a new $50 million art center, and eventually that will mean the possibility maybe of the Jack's collection will end up there. So I did a piece of crystal, and we took it over. Mark Bingham and I took it over to the university president and gave it to him, and I'll show it to you tonight. And when I can do something like that so easily and so slick, and there's just almost nowhere else you can go in this valley and have that done, that kind of personalization. And then the public begins to find out that you can do it. I call it the thank you business, because the exchange between the president and between Jack has started to happen. It's involved my extremely wealthy friend that I've known since high school days, and so there's just an awful lot beginning to percolate or boil underneath this individual concept. And it's so fun to be able to have something custom personalized that I can throw into that mix and make it work out. So as we start tonight, what I'm hoping to do is have you begin to realize, Joni, yeah, she got her microphone off. As you start to realize there's different ways to go at things. And as I prepare these shows, I really do spend most of the whole day going through them, looking at what I've said already and what needs to be changed, or what can I do to adjust it. How can I tighten it up and make it more productive for each of you for spending this time with me? Whenever I see a quote like this one, it had long since come to my attention that people of accomplishment rarely sat back and let things happen to them. They went out and happened to things. Now, all he did is change the way it is said now, but even though this is so far back in history, nothing has really changed. in my mind, this is still the answer of proactively going after an idea. You can just sit back till you're blue in the face, and things don't generally work out like you wish they would. Those who let things happen usually lose to those who make things happen. I was talking to a member of the network today, and she's got just a killer idea, and I can't bring it up yet because it's still premature and new, but oh my hell, of all that we've crossed paths with in all these years, this idea is just easily the strongest concept I think I have. Oh my hell, that she just lit up my whole damn life early this afternoon in a way that I'm just going, God, this is the coolest thing in the world to have. Each of us are getting a little better at sorting things out, a little better at making things work, a little better at understanding how we mix into this whole equation. And she was telling me that she was struggling, and in all my president sessions that we've had over the years, I generally ask, what are the things that are in the way most? What is the most difficult part for you in turning a hobby into a business? And invariably, it's not enough money and not enough time. And she says, yep, that's what we're facing. As good as the idea is, it's going to take time and money both to even try to make it work. And I says, well, I could give you a very long list of people that are facing those same challenges, not enough money and not enough time, but they found a way to do it anyway. And I think it just depends on the degree of attitude. You get to a point where you just absolutely are not going to accept anything else. This was posted on the stream today, and I got kind of a chuckle. It said 40 ways to stay creative, and I thought, yeah, most of us don't have trouble with this one. This list of 40 ways to stay creative is what we love playing with. Right brain people are creative folks. Our brain is probably wired a little different for some reason. But when it comes to the productive work part over here to get something done, that's where we struggle. And even coming up with 20 ways to stay more productive is not what we would work. We'd rather work on 40 of these over here, okay? So if we're having trouble staying creative, what we ought to do is go out and try a different restaurant. Go to some place you've not gone. Yeah, that's really going to help you. And then this was pretty good. Turn off the distractions and let go of fear. And 40 is stay curious. This is the important part, guys. And everything I talk about when we come to the Artistic Business Academy, it's always business issues that require work. And it's where artistic people struggle the most, continuously. And as you try and develop those skills and turn it into something that will actually work, I still think one day the Inspiration and Encouragement Network, the INE Network, is still going to be the cooperative that actually makes it work for most people. Because we're teaching you business concepts, okay? As we climb Success Mountain together, we all, as we are willing to mix with each other, we have a better shot of figuring it out and actually make it work than if we don't. Dora Zemlicka has been a member of the network. She retired from the federal government, the Fisheries Department and Wildlife Department of the federal government, and lives in northern Utah now. Started to carve and do work with Craig, and oh my good Lord, this girl's got some talent. Oh my, her stuff is just as good as it can get. And Tam and I went up to the state fair, and she'd entered her stock and won Best of Show ribbon on her work, and now she has a little credibility in the fact that she's finally figuring out, okay, I can do the work part. But now the success part of what it requires is the risk-taking, the proactive side of saying, I want to make something happen this year. I don't want to just roll with it. I don't want it to just exist. And I've tried it this way and I've tried it that way, and nothing's worked, nothing's worked, nothing worked. But you still have the kind of nature to come back at it again and again from a whole new direction. We've told the story quite a bit, so this is for any of you that are new. Robin Colson was in her Jeep one morning going for a walk, and she heard the radio ad from American Family Insurance of the annual Dream competition. And you have to send in a video and say what your dream is. And her dream was to come to Utah and take classes from Craig and learn to do the larger scale carving. And so she did a video and entered it, and then we all got in and voted and nudged it a little bit to make it work, and Robin got the chance to be judged by the final committee, which was included Kathy Ireland. And so I got this email from her, and she just was so excited about just the opportunity. Didn't think she had much of a chance, but she went ahead and tried it anyway. And she won a $10,000 prize to be able to come and begin taking training from Craig. Now that story has evolved into way more than either one of them expected. And they're together now. They're a couple now, and they're doing, I just went over to watch them. They're carving some incredibly elegant, beautiful frames, large mirror picture frames for temples all over the world. And they're doing one for Paris right now, one for Japan right now. And to get paid to play in the range and the degree that these kids are now is just got to be one of the really great adventures of life and living. But they had to be willing to reach higher than they had before, to do something that you've not done before, to think like the dragon and move yourself beyond where you are right now and turn it into something that's just going to keep you going no matter what, okay? If I could give all of you some kind of pill that would just light you up and help you spot more opportunity, what kind of pill would that take? For all these years, Tam has been on the phone trying to help all of you. I don't think there's a one of you that haven't interacted and mixed with Tam-Marie. And I'm pretty sure you can tell there's very few people in the entire company organization who have consistently stayed with it and stayed with it and stayed with it to be in a position to help you guys. We've paid for an 800 number. Our 800 number is 714. Oh, shoot. I have forgotten our 800 number, Tam-Marie. 624-7415. 800-624-7415 has been on the same number for over 30 years. So we paid for your calls to call and say, Tammy, I need some help. And guess who's been there to help you for all those years? You buy the package, and then you start trying to figure out, okay, I got to solve some problems. I got to figure out how to make this work. Then the option and the avenue and the possibility of someone who really genuinely cares about whether you're succeeding with it or not has been there during that entire time. And I think that's a big deal. Not many companies have these kinds of people who are there to sustain you. How can I help? What's going to be the possibility? And once you need to know the whole story and begin to figure out, this is what I want to do. I want to learn to carve cameos. I want to learn to do this. I want to learn to do that. I need this material. If you're not used to asking for help, then please change your head and your heart about that, because we do have tremendous resources. We've been at this for a very long time, and I've always maintained that even our big kits, our pair pack, is about $3,000, between $3,000 and $3,500 to get into this high-speed custom engraving world. Our Sandblaster is a little less than that, but I flat out will maintain that me helping you find, us locating materials for you, is a list that's worth more than the cost of the kit, for crying out loud. If you're going to get into a wholesale business position and say, where can I get all this stuff? we have a lot of background with that. It's my daughter Tara and Tam. We went up to Portland on a trip and did a show together, and we've been out there stirring the pot for an awfully long time, and we were in an art gallery. Yeah, Tam?
There's no slides. We're not seeing anything.
Really?
Are you supposedly showing slides?
Oh, you know what? I'm sorry, gang. Yeah. Oh, heaven's sakes, that's a disaster. I didn't light up the screen. Thank you for saying something. Okay, here we are. Wow, that was almost a bust. I'm sorry. I thought I had you there. Okay, let's go back here quick. We'll just run through them quickly. I'll catch you up really fast how that. Those that let things happen usually lose to those that make things happen. The 40 creative ways to stay in the creative mode don't compare to the 20 ways to stay productive. Artistic Business Academy is what we try to do, is help you learn the business principles of the marketplace of art. This is Doris Zemlicka. This gal's going to be famous. I've never seen anybody put so much into the preparation of everything that she's going after now, and she is just going to be one of the great ones. This was the competition that Robin Colson jumped into, and went to Wisconsin and won the whole damn thing. $10,000 award for her to begin to get her career going together. I think you could take any silly little idea that you wanted and turn it into something. And if you could just somewhat realize there are some people who are really good at helping you sustain and manage somehow. And if Tam's got her puppy on her lap, then she's really, really good and can help you a ton. So whatever it is you're taking on, we know the resources, we know where to find things, we know what to accomplish, we know how to push those buttons because we've been doing it a very long time. It's my daughter Tara, and Tamari, our trip to Portland. We were in an art gallery and we found, Tammy saw this picture, and an artist had gone up through the inland passageway on his boat and had dropped into a pod of killer whales, and they sailed together for 2 hours. He said it was the greatest experience of his life. So we went back and painted this image, and the title of the piece was Traveling in Good Company. And the second Tammy saw that, she says, that's exactly what we do. That's what our whole business concept is about. It's pretty lonely to take on. Mark Bingham and I were talking about the beginnings of our companies, and from the time there was an idea of a drill to the point that we had something to sell was 8 years. And those 8 years, I was still trying to be a dentist, still trying to manage, still trying to get the drill built, still trying to figure out how to push it into the marketplace, everything. There was no company until 1983. And Mark had the same problem.
Doc?
Yeah.
You having some or something in your mic there? I don't know if anybody else is hearing it, but you got a lot of crackle in your mic for some reason.
The microphone is, maybe I'm playing with the cord. Is it better now?
Kind of breaking up.
You're still breaking up a little bit.
Okay. I don't know what more I can do about that. All right, let's try a little bit more.
It may also be bandwidth.
Yeah, it could
It seemed to happen when you brought the slides up.
Okay. This idea of traveling in good company still, to me, makes the sense. It's the part that I think we really need to concentrate on and try and help each other. Just stay with it. You can only do what you can do. There's no miracles going on here. What it is the steady progress in the direction that helps, that you're happy with. If you're satisfied with how things are going, then there's not much that's going to change. If you're not satisfied, then maybe what you need to do is really pour it on in relationships with those who are going in the direction that you want to go. It's how I've done it. It's how Ken's done it. It's how Craig's done it. It's how Tammy's done it. It's how Keith's done it. We all have mixed with each other to the degree that it actually lifts all of us. And Gary Price's piece that's called Lift As You Go, you can't not lift another person's life and not have that then reflect into your own life. And if you can just sense that part and realize that that's the hang in there part. Tam loves Pomeranians, and she's got one or two of them in her life all the time. And that relationship that's satisfying to her is also what then spills over into her relationship with all of us as well. This is how life and living really works out. There's a few breaks along the way, and it takes courage to grow up and become who you really are, staying with it no matter what. So when I talk about practical actions, what I'm trying to do is have you begin to sense tonight whether you're waiting for something to happen or whether you're getting after it and trying to make it happen. The first slide was those people who decide to make things. They make the day go the direction they want instead of waiting around for somebody else. I love to brag about Marilyn because this woman is just the most productive person. My God, she does so much beautiful work. And when I go through the list of her accomplishments and her shows and her exhibitions and her sales, it just is on and on and on. And every time I talk to her, she's got another potential of an article. The whole story of the business side of selling your work is exposure, exposure, exposure. You just cannot have enough of that. And yet, if you're not the one that proactively is going after it, then very little ever comes your way. And I try and zero in on some major exposure every year. At least once a year, something comes out that really nudges the concept forward. And Marilyn entered the Painted Ponies, the National Artistic Competition, and won, and is selected into a very exclusive group of artists that do this every year. They select a pony that they painted, and then they decide whether to cast it and market it and sell it out in the marketplace. And Marilyn just is so good at this kind of stuff. It's what she thrives on. And her ability to see and compose and then produce is just second to none. Mel's the same kind of person. I've watched you work for years, Mel, and you were just absolutely one of the most persistent people that I've ever met. We all know Mel just won third place in the National Veterans Arts Project, and out of all the military units, veterans units nationwide, he's won with his individual artwork. And when you see that he can take what he spent his lifetime learning is to work with stainless steel and then turn it into these jewelry pieces, you begin to realize how far his skills have come and how productive it has been for him. You just don't count on how much work is here. And everything that it requires to make it a business, and everything that it requires to sell it, and everything that it requires to produce it and present it well, and then on top of all that, photograph it even. He's just learned to do it all. But Brian's the same kind of person. Every one of our people that have climbed up into the Masters category are very, very steady producers. And they are all proactive people. They don't sit and wait for success to come to them. They're the kind of folks that just come up with an idea and say, you know what, I think I can make this work. I'm going to give it a try. I'm so fascinated with Brian's ability. His brain is like this. He thinks in patterns and very, very tight. He's a high-temperature specialist for the space program and is retired and doing his art career now. And he just loves this kind of tight kind of productivity. And I think that's what we all have to do, is try and stay with that. See if we can't turn our own inclinations into our entire life. When Microsoft started Bing, on the day they launched Bing, Brian's artwork was picked to be on the first cover of that catalog. And this one was on the internet often, and I look at this and I go, oh my God, of all the eggs I've carved, I've never done one that's as attractive, I don't think, as this. Look at those little tiny holes that define that leaf there. And then look when he puts that little cut right in there to highlight the reflection.
Excuse me, sir.
How cool
I
that is.
disagree.
Huh?
I disagree.
Well, we won't talk about.
My birthday egg is just
better
as
than
beautiful as that.
Okay,
Yes.
okay, all right, we'll take that. If you haven't learned not to argue with Tammy yet, it's really a good idea not to argue with her. Yes, dear, you're right about that. So, take a second tonight and think about what your dominant attitude is. Your first reaction, your first thought when circumstances come up that require a decision out of you. What's your general attitude? And whenever I catch myself slipping into a negative slant, because I think we all have trouble with that, I'm so discouraged with how negative the whole flipping world is now. And we get so much media that about all you get is the bad side of everything. And I'm going, not everything is bad. But boy, after so much chewing on bad, negative things, your own brain can start to slip into an attitude and a perspective that is not the least bit helpful. I have preached this concept for all the years we've been doing webinars. I'd almost dare to guess that I used this concept the very first show that I ever did, because this one is the one that has affected me the most. It is me that must adjust here. I wrote a note in my phone today, and by the way, I'm loving my new Note 5. Oh my hell, it was fun. I had the meeting with the university president, and I gave him the crystal, and then I pulled out my note to make a couple of messages, and he said, oh my God, he said, you got that brand new wonderful phone? And I said, yeah, and I freaking love it. But I made a note in it this afternoon. I was listening to a radio program, and they were talking about enthusiasm. That damn near nothing happens unless you have a degree of enthusiasm. You won't go up against the things you can't solve easily without some energy. And that energy comes from your own enthusiasm, your own attitude about adjusting. Can I adjust or not? Is this going to work or is it not? And when you start seeing the possibilities here, okay, I saw this picture and I went, you know what? You could concentrate on custom weather vanes and design and produce weather vanes that are as cute as this one and never touch bottom. Never, ever. You could market this from now till you're dead. And when you find some custom little concept here, maybe it won't be weather vanes that you'll take on and go into, but there's this same kind of potential around every opportunity that you bump into. It's just a matter of figuring out, okay, what might work and what kind of direction can I take it? And if you sat back and really pushed your brain a little bit, could you say, is there a way for me to do custom personalization even more? This weather vane and the last one just needs one more thing, don't they? Wouldn't people jump all over it if you could put their name on, if they bought the weather vane, and you could, at the event, put their name on it for free? Say, I'll custom personalize it for you for free. And all of a sudden, you got your own unique, whole new thing going. We talk about market segments constantly in business because until you find a market segment that's identifiable and that you can locate these kind of people, you really are going to struggle, because the goal is not to sell just one thing and then go find another customer and sell something else. What you want to do is find a trend. You want to find the way the wind is blowing. So when you watch concepts like this and then you realize that there's people out there like Lou Jensen that have been flying since they could walk, love being in an airplane. There's just nothing more fun. So for me and a whole bunch of people, there's just nothing more enticing than custom personalized anything to do with flying. But this kind of has a symbol to it as well. And if you could zero in and find, I've talked about a visual journal of the kind of things that you prefer. I was looking through my phone last night, and I've got my new phone, and everything's been moved over, and it's amazing that the two phones, the old one and the new one, they have a Samsung has a transfer software, and you just push one button on the one, and it sends it, and then you push the software on the other one, and it receives it, and you don't even have to touch it. And honest to God, every flipping thing on my old phone moved over to my new one. And I have the 64 gig note, and it just barely looked just before the show started, and I got it half filled up already. I'm going to have to do some moving of some concepts. I had a lot of software. I have 280 apps on my phone. But I was looking through my pictures last night and just scanning down through everything, and it's just kind of got a visual record because it rolls in my phone, rolls over, and I can see the year. I kind of can look at what is going on, and the images and the concepts are very descriptive of your personal circumstance. And it really is interesting to look at it from that kind of vantage point, because I think we talked often about how most of us just don't see ourselves well. And until you spot what this is that is a part of you, and you start thinking in terms of the iconic image that represents you, is what we've talked about this year. To play over on the social media side without an iconic image that represents you and fairly succinct. Ron and I had a long conversation today because he zeroed in on You Be a Better You, but he still needs to find an iconic image and one word that defines, and then You Be a Better You is going to be his hashtag, but it will be the supportive concept for the main. It took me forever to zero in on the Handmade Crusade, but I am not going to back off this one now. My whole life is wrapped up in this image and this concept. And if you can somewhat match that then with what you're learning, we spend quite a bit of time, if you're new and jumping in on our ABA shows with us, and you're beginning to learn artistic business, you've got to understand the annual marketing calendar and know what's going on when this is the season, okay? Because this is the wind that's blowing. These are the trade winds. So if you look at the marketplace from the whole year to now, from now to Christmas is when most businesses succeed. They don't make any money until this part of the year right here. And from this point on is when they actually end up paying the bills and make a profit. So how busy should you be from July on? If you're going to do anything with your artistic hobby business, there ought to be something you do between Halloween, which is the second most popular business and selling business season of the year, then Thanksgiving comes right after that. We do, that's the thank you business, guys. That's where I do best. And then you start looking at Christmas and what you could do with personalization there. It just takes something like this to trigger an idea. I still remember the moment I saw this at the store. And it was a wooden block that had been lettered and painted and done this way. And all I did is click off the picture, and I remember exactly when I bumped into it. And if you can say, well, okay, then is there a way for me to take that concept and get busy with that about this time of the year and begin to realize that there's a wind blowing here. The wind is turning up and turning up and turning up for the holiday trading season, which is the best season of the entire year. Then you bump into something like this. Now, I photographed this, and I've kept these pictures. And if I hadn't done that, they would be long gone by now, okay? They would literally have been gone a long time ago. And we were talking about dragonflies. If you remember, there was a lot of dragonfly issues coming up, and I was bumping into dragonfly stuff everywhere. But I still got them in my life. They're not gone. They don't disappear. And when you begin to realize there's somebody out there making a living with this kind of stuff, what could I do? What could I take this concept, and especially when you see it again. You see it in one location, then you find it at Hallmark, and you start seeing it elsewhere. That's a trade win. That's something that's blowing. That's something that's happening in the economy. And I think it's really significant then that you say, okay, what I'm going to do is participate with this. Now, I watch Kelly Ray because she keeps coming up with stuff. She is a creative person and a designer, and she comes up with all kinds of nifty things that are inspired by soulfulness, connection, and heart. And what I do is I watch what she's doing and then say, is there something that we can do? When I see lettering like this, a lettering style, it's really unusual because normally you don't mix this font with that font with this font and then some kind of graphic in the background here. I wouldn't have made this so busy, but it really looks framed and looks decent. It ended up being okay. And when I see something that I like, then I put it into my phone, photograph it, put it in my file, and then I play with it from then on. When I saw these ceramic milk bottles, I just went nuts because, God, they're just freaking perfect to put quotes and sayings and verses on. And the little guys are really reasonable, okay? So that was retail, which means wholesale somewhere in half of that number. And right there is who distributes it. And once I find something like this, and I generally hang on to it because I never quite know when something's going to come up in my life that I've got to do a thank you. And I know exactly where to go to begin to pull that into my life. Now, these captured whispers now with the smartphone are infinitely easier than it used to be. I've been talking about a digital journal for quite some time, and if you have a digital journal, then God bless you. I hope you're using it. If you still have ignored me for all this time and don't have a digital journal set up in your phone, I don't know what more to say. This is the most valuable tool in my life to capture concepts and pull them into my world and keep working on them until something happens. Because these little thoughts, when they come to you, a member of our network that's got this incredible new idea. Honest to God, I think it's the best idea I've ever heard. And I said, well, how did it come up? She says, it just came to me. And so we talked quite a bit about that because that's how I feel like things happen. Your ancestors, the spirit of who has produced you and your time in life now, are still some existing kind of spiritual influence. And who would be more interested in your life now than your ancestors who paid the price of their life in order that you now have a chance to breathe as well? Would not they be interested in how your life is going now? And if they could influence you somehow with a whisper from the soul, I think they would do it. And it always comes at you like this. I can point back to this concept every time someone comes at you and says, you know what, Lance, what you ought to do is this. Mel, what you ought to do is this. And when that kind of concept comes to you and you can recognize it as a whisper, I think you're supposed to lean into it. You can take your life anywhere if you're just willing to adjust your sails and keep going. I got this picture and I've had it quite a while in my journal, but what I want to do is replace it now with me sitting here. And so I got an excuse now to go lay down and crank it up and get a photograph, because I want to replicate this in my own world and put it into my own writing. And so even though this is someone else's put this together, what a perfect concept, what a great photograph. And when I find something like this as well, then I will try and recompose everything and have it be something I can use then in my own life. This is the note, the email that I got from Robin. I leave Wednesday morning for Wisconsin, home really late Friday night. I'll send you some emails from Dream Camp and let you know how it's going. Woohoo! Jiggity wee. Can you tell what Robin is like just from her email? Isn't that not absolutely awesome? And I look at this email now, and that poor girl had no idea what was about to happen to her life. She had no idea. I knew that Craig was going to meet her there as a surprise. The American Family Insurance team had given Craig a plane ticket, and he was going to be her teacher and trainer, and so he met her in Wisconsin at this meeting at Dream Camp. She got to meet Kathy Ireland there. She bumped into Craig and about just couldn't talk. And her life changed right here, dramatically. And to me, that's the kind of person that has a chance to succeed. She proactively went after it. She didn't sit around and just wait and wait and wait, okay? And when you can realize that failure is this way and success this way, I'm sorry it's uphill. There's a lot of times I wish it weren't so much work and that you didn't have to take so many bullets and get your head ripped off so many times, but it just seems to be the price that it takes to succeed. But I'm doing everything I can do to get you to understand how important this new direction is now. Learning to make the internet work is what we're all about now. And I'm just absolutely certain that none of us really understand what's going on, much less how to make money with the internet and social media. And so I'm just spending every ounce of effort I can to unravel it, to sort it out, and figure out, okay, with our concept, with profitable hobbies, with Paragraphics now, where's the potential now? Because if you let Google and the internet help you find your relationships and drop them right in your freaking lap, like-minded connections every hour of every day, if we can ever figure this out, gang, there's millions of dollars in sales here. It's just absolute. I'm determined. I'm going to figure it out or die trying, one of the two. When I put up the fish hooks this last 2 weeks, some of you have figured it out and done it, and some of you haven't. Most of you haven't nudged other people's postings much yet. And Ron and I talked a little bit about that today, because unless you're on the web and unless you're nudging each other, then it's not likely to work. And I'm not too worried about that. What I'm worried about is you know enough to be able to post something of your own. You're not just going grabbing something somebody else has done. You're beginning to think of ways and learn how to do that for yourself, because you have to be productive here. If you can't figure out how to make it work, and all I'm trying to do is help you learn what it takes to take an unusual idea and turn it into a post, and then get it up, and then we start learning how to nudge that with each other. The little thing that makes such a big difference is always this attitude thing. This attitude concept is just huge, because even when we think we're right, sometimes we're not, okay? Didn't Dr. Seuss nail it? Think left and think right and think low and think high, all the things you can think up. if only you try. And he got to make a fortune doing what he loved doing. And then if you just sit back and say, I want to do something that has just been as cool and as neat as Dr. Seuss. Put that in your journal and then cross paths with it a little bit all the time. And sooner or later, then what should be what you're doing actually shows up. Because it really is. Attitude is everything. I bought this, and can you imagine how quick you can come in here and change this background? Cut it deeper, or actually cut it clear out. And this could be rendered in wood. Our wooden plates, you could put this into a carving and have it be something that you could give out and do. I just put my Boy Scout plates away. I had Kim here from the Bahamas for a class, and I showed her all of my plates I've carved, and I kept most of the samples. I've got about 20 of them still, and that's all I did for quite a while was do scouting awards, because I did a lot of Boy Scouting. And there's just nothing you can't carve and engrave and put into a surface with our systems and our package really easily. Dear God, Mommy and Daddy told me when I get big I can change the world, so please make me big soon. This one I like a lot. Change your thinking, change your world. Now, we've got a guy in the network who has a panel van, and all he does is run around and do personalized coffee mugs. And he goes from place to place. He has a route in the Phoenix area, and he goes from place to place. He has all kinds of different mugs you can buy, and then he'll put on them what you want. I think he does that part for free, so you go with the drill. Then he sandblasts certain concepts like this, and then he'll put your name here with the drill. So you put the engraving and the sandblasting together, and you just start. How many people got to have a coffee every morning, or they can't even wake up and get going? The uniqueness of your thinking, I have never seen one of these done so dramatically. I just love this concept anyway. And then somebody put that Steely right there. And I just went, oh man, do I love this image. I like the concept, I like the color, I like the contrast, I like the graphics. It's very, very inviting in my mind, and I try and track those things. Those images teach you about yourself. When you're going to be the change in your life, everything here is stuff that I like a lot. I don't know about you, but I like little journals, I like little paintbrushes, I like watches especially, I like books and photographs, and of course we all love feathers. And that's in that picture image, and that tells you, yeah, this is the half of the economy that like what I like. And you have to learn that. This goes quite a ways back, doesn't it? The happiness of your life. I wonder if he really said that. And if this was before Cleopatra or after. It's really interesting the things you bump into. And when you start realizing that your life is your story, and the story of your life will be either an accidental one because you waited for everything to come to you, or you proactively tried to make things happen. And it's my goal tonight to try and get you to adjust your circumstances and shift the notch a little bit more into the proactively trying. Don't let your fear, don't let your struggles with money and time slow you down so much you don't make those efforts. Because the road less traveled is the one that most people won't do. I don't know if you saw or remembered my post this week that I just put up was that the person who is willing to do all the stuff that the normal, regular person will not do will eventually have the life that the normal, regular person can never, ever hope to have. So, make it number one. I am so intrigued with this concept because I have thrown it into the equation of a profitable hobby for as long as I've been alive. It is the most interesting fact of the world that every freaking person can see opportunity after it's passed by. Everyone can see, wow, that was sure an opportunity. Except on the front end, you're usually lonely and crazy. When you start talking about leaving dentistry and going to build a drill that can't work in the mouth, the whole dental trade thought I was absolutely stark raving crazy. But that was true for Mark Bingham. He took on Ma Bell and the phone directory. They own the Yellow Pages nationwide, and Mark said, "I don't own the Yellow Pages. They just own the name Yellow Pages." He said, "I'll bet I could make a competitive phone directory and compete with them head to head." And he started in Rangeley, Colorado, and did his first one, and then he went to Price, Utah, and did another one, and he picked up these little tiny towns and go sell them. They knew who was buying the advertising from the listing in the other competitive Yellow Pages, and so he knew exactly who to contact. No business dared not do his phone directory too. There's no way a business is going to be in those days, especially when that was how everyone found you. Your location of finding you was because of the Yellow Pages. And so after a few years, when Ma Bell came to Mark to stop him, they said, "How much will it take to get you out of this business? Because that's our number one moneymaker." And they paid him $240 million to stop him. Now, everybody can see that that was an opportunity then. And everyone can see now how wise he was to get out when he did. Because now it would have changed completely. So, time for change, time to take on something challenging, something that you maybe have been avoiding a little bit. I'm just begging some of you. I know that not everyone can compose and everyone can write, but you should try. You should make an effort to learn. It's such a big deal now. And you become a publisher and jump it on to Google Plus all by yourself. There's just nothing in the way here now. But what we've got to learn is how in the hell do we pay the bills doing it? And a lot of people out there doing it for free and making a lot of effort into it, but just no one yet has figured out how in the world does it actually generate revenue. But if we're going to succeed, you're going to have to try and do some things you've not done before. And it is not the result of spontaneous combustion. You must set yourself on fire. You see where fire started? I love setting fires. Good at that. So, content's king. Learning what to publish and when to publish it, and then keep doing it. Doing well with blogging is not about writing one key post. It's about performing it day after day, helping a few people at a time. And this, to me, is reality. This is not an explosive thing that happens one time. It's something that we're going to do by getting it up and mixing it. Everybody's stream on Google Plus every day is unique. You do not see the same images as anyone else. All of our streams are different. The people that we have circled and that we plus will be in our stream of all of our circles and pluses, so we mix automatically. But if you really are going to be involved, then what you do is republish the stuff that you're interested in, the people that you're interested in, republish and shoot it down through your stream. And that will then force the issue to mix it with the direction you want. I get about 2,400 posts a day now. My circles are completely full. And I forced that issue so that I would have that much more. And yeah, there's more to wade through. But I've gradually groomed the site to the point that my stream is now bringing to me those things I'm most interested in. And you've got to learn to block the things you don't want to see and gradually groom your pathway of information coming at you with what you're really most interested in. And I think it really, really is going to end up being very effective. So when we're giving you help and I'm doing these shows and I'm busting my butt with it. I spend 2, 3, 4 hours a day on the web looking and working and trying to make it work. And if someone's going to offer to do it for you and help you with a 5 keyword research and help you optimize something as a starter package, look at the price range. $500 a month, $800 a month, $900 a month, $1,400 a month. It's interesting what is going on in the economy with people who know how to do something you don't know how to do. And you say, I need to hire you, I need your help. You got Tammy, and you can make an 800 number phone call for free, and you can interact with her, and she can help you to some degree. What in the hell is that worth? I sit back and I go, guys, you've got to understand what her real strength and capacity is. And then you turn around and buy a burr from someone else because it's 10 cents a burr cheaper. Do you understand what you're really doing? I just don't know how to basically paint the picture any better for you to realize that this together thing is not just for Tammy's benefit, not just for mine. The idea is that we all have to contribute. And if we all contribute, there's going to be more coming out of it than we would perhaps make on our own. I saw these kids on Fox News, and they'd done this booklet, The Front Porch Delights. It's for your home and garden, and the photographies, and was designed by Suzanne. Now, when you can get a product done like this, there's not a one of you. I'm pretty sure I've not hit every one of you with there's a book in there. Every one of you should be designing your book. You're coming up with your concepts, your ideas, and you're putting it into place. These kids started this book, and their whole website, everything they do and log on is beautiful front porches. And now they've done so well, they get so much visibility that they get to go traveling around and take photographs of beautiful homes and porches. What a tough job. Their whole life is these front porch delights. And you say, well, okay, if they did it, then maybe I can do something like it. And if I can do it, then so can you. I got to talk to a guy today, and I talked to him about his hobbies. And half the public, you say, have you got a really good hobby? You're just asking a question and trying to generate something that you can begin to discuss what your hobby is. Half the people out there don't have a hobby. Their hobby is watching television, playing video games. And I just go, well, even video games is not too bad because there's an awful lot of video game production in Utah. But if you can take a hobby and then turn it into just enough of a hobby to be able to write things off, all of a sudden now you got a better chance of retiring than you had before. Okay? What it'll take is a little equipment, a little software, and some steady amount of investing of your time. If you don't have a smartphone, let's get that started first. My really wealthy buddy doesn't have a decent smartphone, and I told Mark, I said, this has got to change. You've got to go this way with your ability to mix with the marketplace anymore. So the money you're looking for to be able to pay the bills and retire on and play a little more is the very next exit. And don't let this be you here. Let's find something to talk about and post it and get it up, okay? When you see something done like this ought to just bang you over the head with something that we have involved with Mel. And you begin to realize that there's something there then to write and talk about and to be involved with. And if you sense at all how far Mel has taken this idea now and how much more there is in his future with this concept, you got to ask yourself, well, hell, this is cool. If Mel can make something work and pull it into his life and have it begin to grow his name and reputation in a particular area, then so can you. Okay? And it should be realistic. It should be proactive. You should basically take a concept and just jump all over it. If you're a pet nut, for heaven's sakes, do you know how big the pet world is? Jam and I have done this for a few veterinarians, and they go crazy. There's a girl in Ohio that does this for 6 veterinarians, and she makes her living full time. And this is the gift from the vet when they lose a patient. When one of the family's pets dies, the vet gives them this as a memory stone. And she does these consistently for 6 doctors all over the United States. Most Americans says 84% love their pets and 71% as much as their children. So, is there some potential staring at you right now? Where in the hell is the opportunity? This is the simplest and slam dunk. If this isn't the easiest thing to do that we do, I don't know what the hell else is. And all you have to do is buy the equipment, learn how to do it, and find the resources. Now, this is the piece I did for the university president this week, and I shot it on, I did the pattern on Friday night, and I stuck it on Saturday morning, and then I blasted it Saturday afternoon. It took me 3 minutes to wash the to make the pattern. It took me 1 minute to burn it with the exposure light, 2 more minutes to wash it. And I laid the pattern up on the fridge and let it dry overnight, and then I put 1 minute to glue it up, 1 minute to mask it off, 4 minutes to blast it, and 1 more minute to clean it. So it was roughly 14 minutes to produce this piece, and it's worth $300. Now, the blank is all ready to go, and it's a massive, this is about 9-inch tall crystal block of optical grade crystal. And I put it on a quote from Jack, "Let both wisdom and passion guide intellect." And it rather appealed to the president of that university. And I know this is going to lead now into another BYU type of account. I cannot tell you how much money I've made with my blasting and engraving with BYU over this last 20 years. And it's been just steady, steady, steady business. And now I've got another university right here, right under my nose, that's going to make just as much relationship going as I can. Because all I do is talk to them about the thank you business. And I know the number. When I'm with the university president, it's their job to raise money for the school. That's the reason they are in their role. Number one reason is to raise money so the school can stay ahead of everything. And what I tell them is that there's 20% of their database of financially supported people that produce 80% of the money that they live on. So which person out of your entire database, which people should you really be concentrating on? That 20%. And that 20% are the Mark Binghams. It was very interesting to walk into that university. He just paid for their new science building. And he's going to be involved now with this new art center. And there's not a person on that staff that doesn't know who he was and call him by his first name when we walked in. Now that's the person you need to do an appropriate thank you for. But a Mark Bingham and a Jack Solomon have a lot of incredible, beautiful things in their life, and it's really challenging to come up with a thank you that would be appropriate for that kind of a patron, okay? So once you've done it a few times, then you begin to learn how to do it. And there's lots of ways. I mean, there's just absolutely one way after another. But I'm sorry, I wouldn't stuff envelopes for any amount of money. Every time I see this ad, I just go, what the hell are you even talking about? Nobody stuffs envelopes anymore. Ah! And then I see something creative like this. There are a lot of people that do fish, but this is really John's work. This is very, very, very unique. You'd say, all right, is there a way to do fish sculpture even still? When we went up to the Utah State Fair, there was so many different examples of carved fish. Just elegant, 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 elegant stuff. So my hope is that during this year now, you'll continue to grow your presence on Google Plus. We're creating traffic for each other, and what are most people looking for on the web is what we're observing and watching for and sharing with each other. It is the slam dunk easy thing to snag a picture of a concept or an idea that impresses you, or if you see something that might be of interest to Mel, please take a second, snag the picture, and then shoot it at Mel so he gets to see it. And or for Tammy, and or for Ken, or anybody, any of the rest of us, if you get a little whisper of an idea that you see, and it might be really good that Lance Larson sees that, will you please make an impression and use that moment to let Lance know? That mixing now, that used to be utterly impossible. It would take you so much time that it just never, ever got done. And now it is absolutely a slam dunk. And as we move in all these different directions, this whole graphic way of selling and talking about a concept is aimed right at exposure, exposure, exposure. Is it not? Everything here is exposure, exposure, exposure. And we get to handle now and do that ourselves. And literally learn how to push that and make this content thing productive for each of us. We've had 30,000 systems in these 30 years. The average system has been $2,200 each, and those are Paragrave and Paragraphics and Profitable Hobbies people, and they're out there. They're out there everywhere. And we're going to try and snag the relationships and pull them back in and continue to market and work with them. Tammy gets several calls a day from someone that's been doing their thing, started their hobby, and they're going on down the road and haven't talked to us in a while. So we don't know they're out there still. And they'll call and say, hey, Tammy, guess what? I just retired from psychiatric. My years as a psychiatrist, and I'm going to make guitars now. And when we know that this concept has such a solid basis in people's lives who get past the fact that it is some work, they begin to realize that, and all of a sudden, when I saw this, look at that title, The Blue Sky Factory. Is that good? Oh, God, that's just incredibly good. That's that iconic concept that I'm talking about. And all Amy has to do now is push this right on down the road. We could take her picture out and put Ron Snaberger's picture right there, couldn't we? And you be a better you. And then he starts putting concepts in here, content that is supportive of the concept that he's playing with. There's more to do than we can do. I struggle immensely with, I want to play a lot, and I want to have a good time because it's my job. But I'm doing pretty good with YouTube, but we just got to do better and get into all of these different social media platforms. But from here on out, it's about information. And so what I'm hoping you'll do is zero in on a concept that you want to stay with. The idea of what you're all about should be something that you're zeroing in on. And for us, the selling of our systems is all about extra income. This isn't a big money maker. What it is really decent money for the time. That's where this fits so well. And once you begin to realize that if you stay with it long enough, you kind of evolve into a position and a pattern that really can be rather productive. And I'm hoping that's the case from here on out. Ron and I talked this morning about the 9 years of webinars. I've done 9 years of webinars most every Wednesday night for 9 years. And there's times when I get pretty discouraged because sometimes it doesn't feel like I'm actually helping a whole lot. But I like doing it, and I have a lot to share, a lot of ideas and concepts, but it's helping me to boil down my thinking to make my concepts more clear, to be able to say it in a way that presents it even better. And I'm hopeful before I die I will have put together all of the stuff and the tools that will then be really, really helpful for other people to be productive. When a member told me her idea today, and I realized how deadly it was and how much potential it really has, I thought, well, maybe everything that I bothered to fiddle with and what Tammy's wrestled with all these years is worthwhile, even if all it does is make this one concept incredibly successful. I will brag about Ken Brown and doing calligraphy till I'm dead and gone, because there's just no one who's done more with high-speed power pen engraving of the Paragrave unit than Ken has. To be able to personalize a bottle of wine or to personalize a bottle of perfume and do it with calligraphic effect and do it so quick and so easy at the point of purchase. Ken told me on the phone a while back that he's made $150,000 a year for the last 19, 20 years straight since he started doing this custom personalization. And Ron gets $100 an hour, and Jose's on tonight gets $100 an hour. Tammy's done it for $100 an hour. You have to realize that there's something growing in every one of these areas, and what we're trying to do is help you find what it is that you could do. Between every Wednesday and the shows, just do something. The miracle that you're looking for will be found in your doing. So, are you the kind of person that can learn some new tricks, or are you an old dog? I presented this idea quite a while because I spotted it in the Hallmark store, and they got a whole line of these lockets now, and you put inside, these are open glass fronts, and you put inside the charms that you want to buy, and the startup package is $500 to $700 and get wholesale. And then there's at least 100% markup on this, and all you'd have to do is add your name in the glass with the drill, and you'd have a whole incredibly good business for event marketing. When I find an idea like this, and I stumble on to what I can do with blasting or engraving, it just tickles me more and more every time, because it is really, really a productive little area to play with. So the more you do, I'm going to try and get you to build this photo file, start taking every picture you can find and put it in your journal, and then start a content file where you got an idea to write about, something to post about, something that would probably be interesting, and begin to build that file, and then spend one day a week polishing a concept, writing something that it's only a paragraph or two. You're not talking about this huge chapter or a whole book. All you're trying to do is figure out what content could I match with what photograph, and then post something every day. That's it. That's the only reason I throw these two fish hooks in front of you now, is to get you to do something. Force you to learn how to do it, to get it in a position where you can do what that little task requires. And you're just not going to be productive until you figure out how to actually make that work. Don't forget Problem Hobbies. If you bump into a lead and someone who's at all interested in what we're doing or what you're doing, make sure you call Tammy and get it put in the computer. It's the only way we can manage this new selling direction of our systems, is to have you work with her. She has the computer, she has the contacts, she has the experience, everything. And if you let her know who you've bumped into and then you begin to interact with that individual, then the possibility really, really goes up that we can somehow turn that into a sale for you. How's that? Alrighty, there we go. Let's see, where's that button? Right there. Okay, gang. Anybody got a comment they want to throw in right about now?
I'm
before we finish,
gonna have to
Tammy?
go. I've got some people coming. So, good night,
Okay.
everyone. Good show.
Thank you for stopping by. Thank you, Lance. Thank you, Jose, Joni, Ed, Debbie, Dean, and Mel.
Yeah, all of my projects began on paper.
Yeah. Yeah. I think mine too. I got yellow notepads all over my life because I would try and snag an idea and then turn it
Yeah,
into
I
something.
think I've got the design for next year's entry.
Isn't it interesting how one good idea leads to another?
Yeah, if you can see this,
Yeah.
that's
We're
the
still broadcasting live, Doc.
Oh, okay. I'll shut her down. We'll see you guys. We're going to visit a little longer, but thanks for coming tonight.